All right, everybody, welcome back to Unscripted from my studios here in Columbus, Ohio. Exciting day today. This has been fun. We've had to change things up a few times. We've had to reschedule a few times, but I'm really looking forward to today. So I'm going to have my two guests introduce themselves. Cristina, we will start with you. Will you introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, hi, my name is Cristina Duchesne-Rivera. I am an actor and singer in the Raleigh, North Carolina area. And yeah, I've been performing, acting, singing since like for a long time, a very long time.
Well, it's wonderful to have you on. It absolutely is. Julian, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hey guys, I'm Julian Simoes, actor based in the Raleigh area in North Carolina. I'm a fan of all things nerdy and dorky, and
You came to the right place.
oh yeah, dude, I'm ready to go. I'm ready.
Well, this is such an honor. We've had a few minutes here to pregame beforehand, and it's just been wonderful to get to know you both. I'm looking forward to learning even more. We're here today to talk about the film that you just completed, Ordinary Things, and so I really want to talk about that. But first, we got to talk about my guy, TC Stallings. I'm rocking my Bedford hat today. TC went to my high school. He's a
No
few,
way.
yeah, he's a few miles younger than me. Let's just put it that way. But TC's my guy. I love me some TC Stallings. And so when I saw the trailer, I was like, hey, TC's in this. So anyway, I just had to throw that out there to start with.
Yeah, he's awesome. I loved him. That was my first time like ever meeting him, and I honestly didn't know much about him either. He was on set for one day. So it was actually, yeah, it was a lot that happened before he showed up on set. But
Yeah.
basically he was coming in last minute to like fill in the role. And he only had that one day available. Everything that you see him in the movie was all shot the same exact day. We like green screened, is that the right thing? Green screen, like a lot of the background.
Yeah. It,
I
it
don't think
was it
that's
was
the
kind of
right
like that.
term, but like a lot of the background like shots that you see of him, it's like a green screen, and then if you look at like his over the shoulder shots, it's a stand-in, so it's not actually like him. Yeah, if you really look, you can see it's
Movie
not
magic.
him. It's not him at all, because like all the shots that we got of our faces that he's in the scene, he wasn't there that day. So we had to kind of like imagine what he would be like.
Wow.
And I was completely wrong, completely wrong, completely wrong, because I had no idea how like bubbly and like spontaneous he was. He's definitely one of those actors who likes to improv in the script. Like every single take is different, which I love. It makes it like way more fun. But yeah, you just like didn't know what to expect, and I feel like he was always just trying to make me laugh the whole time. And so it was just so much fun to work with him. But I look at it now and I look at like my reactions on the camera, I'm like, I was reacting completely different when I was like actually acting with him, because like I just didn't know what to expect. But he was an absolute joy to be around. Like we played games. Julian,
Oh
you
my
tell him about the
gosh.
games.
No, yeah. So okay, so this man, this man's one of a kind. So we were doing we were doing one of our coverages, and we are doing his coverage for one of these scenes, and we're just getting our over the shoulder, and there was a lot of like technical figuring out things, because the way that we were doing it was kind of like green screen, but the way that we did it was we actually had this super high res monitor that was set up in the
Mm.
back, and we got a lot of pre-recorded footage of the exact angle that would be in that in the shot. So we overlaid it in the back, and when you put a camera to it, it's crazy because you can barely even tell that it's on a monitor. So because we were figuring this out, there was a lot of stop and starting, a lot of going, and a lot of hurry up and wait. And because of this, there was a lot of downtime, and a lot of the downtime in between things, we'd run, we'd stop for like, I don't know, 10 minutes or so. And he had, in the scene, he was giving us a gift. He was giving us a present, and it was in this little bag. And so I think we started doing the scene and it didn't have anything in the bag, and we started looking, and they're like, cut, we got to put something in the bag because it looks empty, right? So we had some people put things in the bag, and then he's like, all right, we start doing the scene, and then he decides he wants to play a game just to pass the time. He's like, all right, I need you to guess what's in the bag. And he starts, like, he's treating this like it's like some kind of like a Steve Harvey game show. Like he's pulling out all the stops, man. It's hilarious. So we're cracking up, and to the point that Mike, our director, is having to like rein us in and get us to stop talking because we're having too much fun with this. So he's like, all right, you guys got 3 guesses. So we had, and you get no more guesses. You can phone a friend once, but you only got 3 guesses. So we spend this entire time like in the scene, like we're doing his thing. He just cuts right into it. And then as soon as we hit cut, he's like, all right, you guys got any guesses? So it was so funny, and we debated for a long time, and it was so stressful. Like there was no money on the line. There was nothing on the line, but it felt like the stakes were so high. He was hyping this up so much. But yeah, no, I mean, he found a way to make everything super fun and enjoyable. Cristina, you spent a lot more time with him than I did. But I mean, he was always so supportive, such a ray of sunshine. I mean, nothing could tear that man down. And I mean, hats off, man, for him coming in last minute and filling in the way that he did, and making the time to do that, especially learning everything that he had to learn line wise and all in just one day. You know, it really was a blessing to have him on. It was really, really cool.
Really funny because I texted him and I told him we were going to do this interview a few weeks ago, and that's exactly what he told me, was that he said me, yeah, he's like, I did it as a favor. It was just kind of a quick thing. You know, he didn't go into all the detail that you all did. So, yeah. And the other thing too is the over the shoulder probably had to be whoever that guy or whoever that person was. They got to be put together because TC is put together.
Man's a brick wall.
He's put together, and he's got the nice waves, you know, his hair. I mean, my guy is GQ model. So whoever that was, shout out to them too.
That he is.
Incredible. We didn't get on to talk about TC Stallings, though. We got to talk about the movie, but I love the background, so it gives me some dirt on my guy. So I'll be able to use that later. I'm sure.
Absolutely. Get him to run a game show in the future.
That's right. What was in the bag, by the way?
It's a peanut butter jar.
It was a peanut butter jar. That's what it was. Because we were asking things like, is it liquid? Is it solid? And he's just like, yes?
Sort of.
So that's when we were like, what does he mean?
Yeah, he was tricking us along the way. It was
fantastic. I love it. All right, let's talk about the movie. The film is, and I have to ask this, it's a Christian rom-com, correct? Is that the right way to? So there's not many of those. Is there any? I can't think of one off the top of my head. There's a lot of Christian films. Right. I can't think of, you know, usually they're kind of heavy in nature, you know, dealing with what people deal with, you know, especially as believers. I couldn't think of a rom-com off the top of my head that's a comedy. I mean, you know, you got your Fireproofs and your War Room. Speaking of TC, and you know, the Forge is out now on Netflix, and there's a lot of great films out there, but I couldn't think of one that was a comedy.
Yeah, I mean, I can't. I know that there are some out there, but it's definitely not a super popular genre, I guess, for that sub classification. I think that a lot of I don't know if you guys can hear the dogs barking. I'm trying to.
It's unscripted. That's what we do.
Okay, yeah. This is unscripted. This is. I think when it comes to a lot of Christian films, at least, the focus, I think a lot of people are afraid to dip into other topics besides that. And this isn't a slight or anything, but like the overly preachy, really on the nose kind of messages that a lot of Christian films tend to have. I feel like because that's the point that a lot of writers want to hammer down, a lot of times it kind of misses the mark in terms of relatability. And I think that, you know, by dipping into the more of the rom-com side of things, where you can make it entertaining and you can talk about other things as well and incorporate it in your overall message and still make it really relatable and fresh and fun to watch. I think in my experience, I haven't come across a lot of them that really take that initiative to do that and kind of stray away from the cookie cutter formulas that a lot of films tend to fall under.
I like it. I do. And honestly, I agree with you. obviously things we're not saying and what we're saying, you know, a lot of the Christian films tend to follow the same path, you know. And that's my only, I think sometimes when I see them, I love them. They're great, but they all end well, you know.
Yeah,
And sometimes that's just not the Christian life, you know. I mean, it does end well for us in the end, but when we're going
absolutely.
through it, it's tough. And so I do like that you could bring laughter into. And so Christina, there, if you could talk about the movie itself, just explain, because I think your role is key to this, and there's some health things that we deal with too in terms of,
Hmm.
is it your mom in the film?
Yes.
So
So
can you just
basically,
kind of
yeah.
explain that?
Yeah, so my character, Danny, you're basically following her story throughout the film. And at the beginning of the film, her mom is dying of cancer. And so that's really hard for Danny, her loved ones. And then her mom's dying wish is for Danny to end up with her best friend, Tyler, who's played by Julian. And she wants them to live happily ever after, all of that, and especially for her to be taken care of, because her mom is her only parent that's left. Because Danny's father died when she was younger. I don't remember how old. Oh my gosh!
It's okay.
But
It's
it
okay.
says it in the movie. I don't remember. But so her mom just wants her to be like taken care of, in good hands, and she's been best friends with Tyler for forever, since they were toddlers, basically. So she trusts him and knows she'd be okay with him. But Danny doesn't really want that. She's very much like, Tyler's just my friend. Like, I'm not really into him like that. There's someone else out there. There's other things out there for me, all this stuff. But at the same time, she's like, I want to make her happy, like, and I want her to like be at peace when she passes. So she concocts this plan, which Tyler goes along with because he does anything Danny tells him to do. Um, Basically, the plan is for them to fake getting married, and fake a wedding at the hospital, all that. So her mom believes that she's getting married, but in reality, it's not real. So once she passes, they just go back to just being friends. But then, not to spoil the movie, a miracle happens and she is miraculously healed, and they have to then deal with the lie, that they have created, and everything that comes with the lie, and all the other people it affects. And then the truth comes out at some point. But yeah, that's pretty much the premise of it. And you just kind of see Danny battling between like what she should do, what's right, what's wrong. She's also very much like trying to people please. She's just very indecisive, and she wants everyone to be happy, and she wants everything to go the way she wants it to go. And she's kind of gotten to the point in the movie where she's lost all control of everything, and it's all just going crazy. So yeah.
I love the writing of it. I have two daughters and a son. My son's the eldest, and then I have a daughter that's at Liberty and one that's doing her master's now. But you know, relationships, and so you know, I grew up in the '80s, and so I got '80s movies like 16 Candles and Pretty in Pink and
Yeah, yeah,
Breakfast
yeah.
Club, right? Like all the John Hughes films, and they were all fantastic. And that's how I was raised. And so you know, we had rom-coms that, you know, and so those were kind of my teenage dating years and college dating years. My daughters now, you know, I'm a dad, and so I'm watching them go through heartbreak times and times where they probably want to please us. So everything you just said, like you know, obviously different story, but understanding that it's really hard. And so I'm really glad there's a film now. I can't wait for them to see this, because it really helped. I mean, when you're growing up and you're in those teenage years and you're in those dating years, and those, they're really hard. And so when you have a film that kind of helps make light of a situation, especially in the dating
Right.
world or marriage world, I'm really encouraged to have them see that. But this film is heavy at times. Is that correct? There's some scenes that are very, very heavy. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so for sure.
How did you handle those for
I'd
both of you?
say
I'll say this is more of a Christina question. She had to deal with a lot heavier scenes.
Yeah, yeah.
it's funny because this film was my first feature film where I was the lead, and where I had to tell this story from her perspective. And sometimes I feel like you can be on set for like a really small role and you feel like there's not that much pressure because they're like, oh, I have like a one-liner here, or I'm just like the character that comes in and makes you laugh for a second and leave.
TC.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Crazy point.
But with Dannie, which I was super excited about as an actor, is telling her full story from beginning to end. And getting into those more emotional scenes, I was a little nervous about because, especially the one scene I'm thinking of is when Dannie is talking to Tyler's dad about her dad and how she kind of just breaks down. That was something I was very nervous about because I had read the script, and in the script it says she breaks down, she cries, all of that. And as an actor, like, especially when you're younger, like starting off, there's this pressure to like cry on camera or on stage, or it's just like, oh, I need that one single tear shot. It's just like that pressure, which is it's just too much pressure for something that doesn't need to have that much pressure. When in reality, you don't have to think about the crying, you just have to think about telling the story. Like, that's like the most important thing, is to tell the story. And if that single teardrop goes down your face, great. And if it doesn't, great. Like, you don't have to have like all the tears, all the crazy like wailing, whatever, as long as you're just in the moment and feeling it. And that scene was shot my second or third day on set. And I was really nervous because, especially that day going into it, because it was the very last scene of the day. I was there from like 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. that day, and it was the last scene of the day. And I was really nervous driving to set that day. By the time we got to the scene, I had gone through so many scenes that day that I was just like mentally exhausted. I didn't even have like the anxiety to like think about it, which honestly I think really helped me be able to just like let myself feel all the feels and not put that pressure on myself. And I feel like after that day on set, I felt really good and proud of myself. And I was like, okay, like I did it, cool. So then after that, all the other emotional scenes I wasn't anxious about it anymore. Like, it just kind of all left the room. And there was even some scenes that weren't initially written to be emotional, but they just ended up being emotional. Like the scene at the beginning of the movie when Dannie's at her mom's bedside, just watching her. Like, there was nowhere in the script that said for like Dannie to cry or to get emotional, but it was just like, just watching her there. And they did really well with her makeup and everything. She looked.
Yeah, it
And
was hard to look at.
Yeah.
it just took
Wow.
me back to like times where I've seen family members in the
Right.
hospital and like not doing okay, and then they did really well like with the set dressing, because that was not a hospital room at all. It was actually like one of the office spaces in the church that they
Is that
like
right?
turned
Mm-hmm.
into a hospital room.
They
So like,
they built a hallway, like an extra hallway, and they built walls and they made it match with the already existing walls. It was crazy.
yeah,
That's incredible. The
they
behind the
did
scenes
really
stuff is
good.
incredible. So I was going to ask you both that, you know, I've never done that, you know, obviously never done film, but I know like if you play, there's a certain Louis Capaldi song, I'm out. I just lose it every time because I think about my dog. And if you've ever seen a video where I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but there's a video where he's got this little dog and seriously, it just crushes everybody. It was a meme for a while, you know. Or if I think about life experiences, you know, I lost my mom, so if I was
Mm-hmm.
acting that out, I'd probably immerse myself more into that time. So do you draw on life experiences to help you in those moments, or do you immerse yourself, or both, into the character so much that you walk through it that way? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say at least for me, it's a mixture of both. I feel like it definitely helps to have some real life experience to draw from or to relate to. I'm not one of those actors and one of those people who's like, okay, I'm gonna have to cry in this scene. Think of dead puppies. Think of dead puppies. You know,
It
Yeah,
doesn't work. It doesn't work. No, but
it
that's the
doesn't
thing.
work.
Every actor goes through that phase where like, I'm gonna try to think of like my dog getting run over.
Yeah, it's
And
like
like it's something that every actor I feel like tries, and it
it just doesn't
doesn't
work.
work.
It doesn't
It
work because
doesn't
it
work.
pulls you out of it, right? Because then you're just forced. It's like that thing, you know, if you're like, okay, if I tell you don't think of a pink elephant, now all you can think of is a pink elephant. You're like, okay, well, that now you're not thinking of the scene at all, and now you're just trying to make yourself cry, and then everyone will see that it's fake.
Yeah.
So, you
Yeah.
know, there's a good healthy balance in between that, I think, for me, where it's like, you know, in this case, if I had a family member who was in the hospital and I remember what that felt like, I can recall that and kind of replace it a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but also really put myself in the character's shoes. And it's a big, you know, it's a big what if game, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I was this character, if I was this person, how would this affect me? Or given everything that this character has gone through so far, right? And in his relationship with this person, how would that, you know, so it's a little bit of both, I would say, but less so from my own experience personally, and more trying to be in the moment. And like Christina said, let that happen and let that draw that out of you. Because otherwise, if you try to force it, you know, the camera, unlike theater, right? The camera is like right here. So, you know,
Yeah.
everybody that is watching the film and everyone's watching you
Yeah.
is right here in front of you. And
Right.
people can tell when you're faking
Yeah.
it. People can tell when it's not sincere.
Yeah. I was reading this acting for camera book by Michael Caine, and he says that you can't lie in front of the
Mm-hmm.
camera. Like you just can't. Like the camera will always pick up the truth. So if you're lying, if you're pretending to feel something, we're gonna see it. Like it's just you can't put a mask on. And
Yeah.
that's another thing that I've learned in like other acting technique books, that even for the stage you can't put a mask on, because it's not gonna last, and it's not going to feel genuine, authentic for yourself and even for the audience. There's just like different kinds of ways to go about it. And from what you were saying earlier, I would say for me, I base a lot of it on my own life.
Mm-hmm.
I do like a lot of like recall when it comes to like my sense memory, and
Mm-hmm.
like whether that's like where I was, the people I was around. And when I am like playing Dannie talking to Tyler, I replace Julian with someone else
Mm-hmm.
who I associate as like a Tyler, or someone who has been a Tyler in that life. And it doesn't necessarily have to be exactly the same story, or even like
Right.
someone in a romantic way.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can connect those two people beforehand, then when I'm in the scene with him, I already have that sense memory and all those recall feelings, moments, so that when I'm in it, I can then be in the moment with Julian for like how he's responding to me and we're responding to each other. But yeah.
That makes perfect sense. Actually, that's very interesting. It really is, because I think it's almost like you never, maybe, you know, maybe there was a former, you know, someone you were dating that you never got to say what you really wanted to say, but in this role, you get to say what you wanted to say to that person. So you're just getting
Exactly.
to do that now. You're doing it on camera. The other thought I have is we are so good in life. Some of us, some are not, at putting on a mask and masking our pain or what we're going through. And a lot of times you don't know what somebody's going through, but we're not on camera. We're not on to the what you said earlier. Like I would just probably dial up some Marley in me and just lose it, because I'm an
Yeah.
just
Man,
dial up the
yep.
last 30 minutes of Marley in me and I'd be out. But so, but I'm an empath. So are either of you empaths? Because I'm an empath, and so it's pretty easy for me to just bawl on scene on any moment.
It really depends, I think, when it comes to like, you know, the crying and bawling on scene, but I would consider myself an empath. Yeah. I feel like it's very easy for me to get on somebody else's level and maybe not exactly feel what they're feeling, but understand what they're feeling
Yeah.
and relate to them in that way. Um, I mean, for a little while, I taught children's theater and was a kid's like acting coach and all that. So a very important part of all that was, you know, meeting the kids at their own level. And
Yeah.
because I mean, you know, a lot of like the classes that I was teaching, a lot of, you know, they're either doing it after school for fun, or they were just getting into acting and theater. And So, some weren't really that great, right? And that's what they're there to learn. And a lot of times you kind of have to, learn you have to figure out how to approach a certain way, a certain thing with each individual, right? Because everyone learns differently, and everyone, especially when it comes to acting and the creative arts, right? Everyone expresses themselves differently. So it's really important to be able to feel that out and kind of like customize how you interact, and even on when you're performing, customize your performance in a way to how someone else is performing as well. So I feel like it's very important to cultivate that empathy as a performer in any kind of creative aspect, I feel like. But yeah, I would consider myself to be an empath.
Yeah. How about you, Christine?
Yeah, I'd say the same. I definitely am for sure. But I think it's really interesting because a lot of people think that like actors have to be empathetic to like feel like all these
Mm-hmm.
feelings. That is far from the truth. There's so many actors who are
Yeah.
not at
Anything
all.
but.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and they can still be great actors, which is like the crazy part. But I definitely think being empathetic does help, but it can also, um, I feel like it can get in the way sometimes too,
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
especially depending on the character you're playing. Because I feel like there were moments, like even in ordinary things, where Danny is just so caught up in her own thing. It can honestly be a little selfish. There were times with Danny where she was just so caught up in how she was feeling and what's going on with her and her life, and then she's not realizing all her own choices are affecting all these other people around her and how that's hurting everyone.
Yeah.
And then it's like not until it's like too late she's like, oh no, like what have I done?
Right.
So yeah, but I think empathy is a big part of acting, but you don't necessarily need to be empathetic to be a good actor.
Yeah.
I was thinking as you said it, because I think one of the things about being an empath is you can't unravel yourself from other people and the emotions. So I think when you said that,
Absolutely.
that's so true. It would almost be beneficial to not be, because then you couldn't just disassociate yourself with how you
Disconnect
would
yourself.
really,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's so interesting, because I thought that, yeah, as you were saying that, I thought the exact same thing. Julian, I have to ask you, I saw an interview too where you were saying that your personality type or relationship type is much more like Christina's role in the film. Is that true?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, at least I'll say this, at least before working on the film, I've learned to check myself a little bit more. But by like naturally, I remember when I was first reading that script that immediately I was drawn to Danny's character just because it was speaking to me on so many different levels, calling me out on everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, because for a long time up until fairly recently, I wouldn't say afraid to move on, but I was very much a perfectionist to a fault, and the grass was always greener somewhere else, right? So it's like, yeah, I mean, I like where I'm at, yeah, but then if only I had that, or if only I could do this, or I don't want to commit to this right now because there might be something better coming up around there, so I'm just gonna wait and play it safe. I was very much like that for a long time, and it was really cool getting to work on the project and play Tyler, because it was almost kind of like, me getting to play a more idealized version of what I kind of wanted to be in a way, and a character that was challenging me in how I thought of things, just like he was challenging Danny. And it was cool getting to play that and to embody that for the filming process, and then coming out of it afterwards and being like, yeah, I could rock with that. Yeah, I could do that a little bit more. But yeah, no, absolutely. Very indecisive. Yeah, that was very much the case.
So let me ask you both, because of that, I know you've mentioned having a girlfriend. I don't want to get in your private lives, but
No, that's fine.
when
Yeah.
you're playing a role like that, and you just said you got challenged, maybe did that challenge you in your dating relationship outside the film? So when you walk off set, did you have to again unravel maybe some of those things, or have you all had to do that in any role that you've ever been in?
It's
You
funny
both just got
because
the look on your faces is
Trying to
perfect.
think. Yeah, I'm
it's
thinking.
funny
That's a good question.
because when we both were filming this movie, we were both single at the time. I
Mm-hmm.
think. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were both single at the time, so we didn't really have to deal with that.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
But then when the premiere rolled around, we both were in relationships
In
with other
relationships, yeah.
people. Both of our, like my boyfriend and his girlfriend came to the premiere, so they both saw it. And it depends, because I'm trying to think if like in the past I've had to deal with it, but weirdly enough, I feel like in the past when I was in a relationship, I never had to do like a role
Yeah.
like that. And then when I did have to do roles like that, I wasn't in relationships.
Honestly, I think
But
that's the same with me now that I
like
think about it.
it's
It just
funny, but
weirdly happened that way.
I
Such
feel
a
like
random
now,
question.
yeah, no, but
It's a good question. It's a
it's
good question.
interesting.
It's an
But
unscripted
now,
question.
But
I feel
Seriously.
like now, because me and my boyfriend are both actors, so we've had
Yeah.
like the conversation of like, okay, like what type of roles are we gonna like accept? Like, what are we comfortable with the other person doing? What are we comfortable ourselves doing? So definitely like what I had done in Ordinary Things is something that like, okay, we're okay with doing something like that again. But if something like past that, we're like, maybe not. So it's just
Of
kind of,
course.
I feel like it just depends on like the couple and how they react, because there's definitely people out there that are not cool with that at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I
That would
think
be
I'm
very weird in a romantic comedy, especially.
right. Well, it's interesting. I feel like in my case too, I think, you know, my relationship history too. I mean, I think most of my relationships have all been also with other creatives and other artists as well and other actors. So I feel like there always was like this base understanding of this is what we do. You know, you go to work and you do work and you come home and you leave that at work, and that's just kind of how it is. As far as like, you know, bringing roles home or all like that and not being able to break out a character, I mean, that's like a little bit of a different story.
Yeah.
But I would say in terms of relationship stuff, it tends to stay pretty separate. And it's a really interesting question though. It's a really good one.
Thank you. That's interesting. All right, so we got on to talk about the film, and I hope people have enjoyed just the conversation about just getting to know you two, because in doing so, I hope that they'll want to make, you know, go see the film, because, you know, I do as well, because now that I have some background and know that TC wasn't actually standing there and all these different things that we talked about, I really want to go see the film, like the 3 Men and a Baby that, you know, when you know, talking about, there's that rumor that one thing. Anyway, okay, that's completely, welcome to Unscripted. That's on track. Anyway, let me get back on track. The film, where can they find it and when?
It is on Tubi, Prime, and YouTube. I believe it is free on YouTube. I don't know if it's free on Prime or Tubi yet.
Pretty sure it's free on. I definitely know it's free on YouTube. I think on Tubi. I
Prime's
don't
on
know.
charge, because I went and looked at it today to see, and I think it was
I think it's free on YouTube and on Tubi. I'm not sure about Prime, but yeah, and it's live now.
Good. And is there a website for the film? Do you guys know?
Yeah, it's is it Ordinary Things? Hold on.
I think it's
I
Ordinary
it's
Things
under,
movie. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it's under like the Living Word.
Okay.
Living Word
Church
Studio is like homepage and all that.
website.
Yeah.
Okay.
Something like that.
And
I have it linked on my Instagram.
there you go. Well, all right. So great segue. Great segue. Where can people find you? Both of you.
You can find me on Instagram at Cristina Duchesne. And then if you want to see any other work I've done, and then hopefully more work in the future, you can find me on IMDb, Cristina Duchesne-Rivera.
Okay. And how about you, Julian?
Same exact thing here.
Excuse me.
I am most active on Instagram. You can find me at Jules Simoes, JULZ Simoes, and same thing. I'm on IMDb if you want to keep tabs on whatever I'm up to and see anything else that I've done.
All right, we're going to go around the horn on two last questions. The very first one is, what's next for you? We'll start with Cristina. What's next for you?
Right now, I don't have anything lined up as in like bookings, but definitely still auditioning. And then my goal is to make my own work and create my own films and stories. So that is, I guess, what is up for me. So hopefully that'll be completed by the end of the year. So, yeah.
That's very exciting. That's exciting stuff. Julian, you?
For me, nothing is set in stone as well. I'm auditioning for things, keeping an eye out for anything else that pops up, keeping my finger on the pulse, taking advantage of some downtime in the industry, so to speak, so that I can try some new things and pursue some other career goals as well. Big move coming up too. So I'm definitely going to be taking advantage of that downtime to focus on that and getting settled in. So a lot of fun things, but nothing is set in stone yet in terms of performances or projects.
And there's nothing wrong with that for either one of you. And honestly,
Yeah.
my prayer is that this movie and people that see it will maybe be a springboard for both of you and opportunities where, your talent is out there so people can see it. The last question I have for you, and I ask every one of my guests this, it's kind of a tradition for me. So I'm going to start with Cristina again. What would you tell your younger self? Julian, you're going to get it. See, normally you don't get time to think about it. You get a chance to think about it. So actually, you know what? I'll do this. Julian, what would you tell your younger self?
Dang it. Okay.
If you're writing a letter, dear younger me, what would
Let's see, younger me, what would I say? I would tell him to not be afraid to try new things, that no matter what you do, no matter where you go, no matter what choices you make or mistakes you make or whatnot, you're always going to end up where you're going to end up, and you're going to be well taken care of, and to not worry about a thing, because your path is set, man, that you just need to ride the wave and make adjustments as you go, but you're going to get there.
How about that? Cristina, how about you?
I'd definitely tell my younger self to keep dreaming, keep going, keep striving, trust yourself, trust your choices, trust your decisions. There's no need to have so much self-doubt, to just keep going is the main thing I would say.
I love it. I love it. Well, you all have been so much fun. I've really enjoyed this today. I hope you have. I know it took time out of your day today. I know you guys are probably doing the car wash, as they say, going through all the interviews for the film. So good luck. Good luck to you in the car wash as you continue to do this media tour, as they call it. But no, I'm honored that I got to just be one of the places that you stopped by and spent time with today. And we've had to juggle. And so you've been more than gracious with that. And thank you both. The film, once again, is Ordinary Things, right?
That's
Ordinary
correct.
Things. You can get it on Tubi, Amazon, and YouTube. And we think it might be free on Tubi and YouTube, and we're not sure about Amazon. Is that correct?
Oops.
It's fine. It's fine. It'll be all linked in the description. And then, did you find the website when you were looking for it? Is it Ordinary Things Movie?
It's ordinarythingsmovie.com.
ordinarythingsmovie.com. Find all things there, and then follow both of them on Instagram. Nothing but the best for both of you. I really do. I hope continued success. I can't wait to see the film myself, and I look forward to seeing it. I'll sit down with my wife, and then we'll send it to my girls so that they can watch it too, going through relationship stuff. And thanks for making the film. Thanks for doing that. And I wish you guys nothing but success.
Thank you so much, Aaron. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely. Good luck on the car wash.